This episode of the Boss Rush Podcast is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the Boss Rush family of podcasts, head to bossrush.net or our Patreon at patreon.com/bossrushmedia. Thanks for helping us build something better. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boss Rush Podcast, a great place to play games and be better. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Dirrig, and alongside me, as always, is the PC Muscle Race himself, LeRon Dawkins.
What's poppin'?
Hello, LeRon.
Hey.
It's good to see you.
I'm doing the people a favor. It's back to my normal dress code.
You are. Good. Good. You know what they say. The less clothing, the better.
It's freer. It's freeing.
It is freeing.
Yes, I am wearing shorts below the camera line. Yes, I am. I'm wearing appropriate shorts.
That's fair. Also joining us is the mad pharmacist herself, Stephanie Klimov.
You're muted.
Ironically, my statement was, burnout is real, folks.
It really is. That's true.
Hi.
That reflects.
Hello, I am here, and it is a Wednesday night.
What's wrong, Stephanie? You want to talk about it?
No.
Okay.
It's Wednesday. It's supposed to be hype train night. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually LeRon's the one that looks like he's about ready to go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, give me about 45 minutes.
Just give me a couple minutes, and then I'll perk right up.
You know what you need? You need some caffeine.
I do.
You need.
I need to get back onto that terrible habit of drinking Red Bull and Monster with you, because this Diet Coke ain't cutting it.
If it makes you feel better, this is my first one today. But guys, we have a very special guest. He is the host of the Gamerheads Podcast.
Woo!
We have Roger Reichardt. Hello, sir. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I am also wearing pants, just in case you're wondering.
That's what I'm talking
wasn't.
about. Get on my level tonight. That's what I'm talking about.
All right, that's a game. That's an After Dark game we're all going to play. Which one of the panelists are wearing pants?
Whose lower half? Whose lower half is shorter?
Oh
What?
no! Oh no!
Stay tuned for After Dark coming your way every Saturday.
I'm not going to be on that show.
Stop.
I just
What
want to
happened?
Say that, so.
Hold on. No. I can't say this. I can't say this live because I can't say this while we're recording because it will send the internet into a frenzy. So I'm just gonna type it in the chat, and you guys.
Wait, then why didn't you just type in the chat instead of saying all that stuff?
Probably because he wanted to make sure we weren't saying the right things.
Yeah, well, LeRon, we know that already.
We knew that.
That happened a week ago, dude.
Yeah.
Pay attention, Ron. All right,
That's what happens if somebody doesn't play Nintendo.
just so the audience knows.
I've been playing Nintendo all week, and now we'll talk about it and what we were playing.
LeRon thinks he just broke the news that the Tears of the Kingdom has leaked.
Yeah. By the time this episode comes out for everybody, the game will have been out for 3 or 4 days.
Excuse me. I was busy dodging. I was busy dodging random stuff about Tears of the Kingdom, and then
All right, my day just got better. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad I could oblige.
Oh man.
Now I'm about to be the sourpuss.
Roger, save us. Tell us who you are.
Right.
Tell us about the
your
podcast, which I happened to be a guest on one time. So thank you.
You were, yeah. So the Gamerheads Podcast. So we started the podcast in 2016, and it has gone through many different versions and renditions of the podcast. And in fact, one of the co-hosts that started the podcast actually worked on Redfall. So yeah.
Nice.
So yeah. So we do reviews, interviews. And now I'm starting a new show called Virtual Realities, which just focuses on VR games. Yeah. So it's still part of the Gamerheads family, but it's just a separate show. So
Question.
yeah. Yeah.
Have you played, and I don't know what the title is, but there's a VR game. Actually, I can't really say if it's out or not, but I keep seeing pictures of it. It's like a kayak simulator.
Oh, no, I haven't, but that sounds fun.
Isn't that just what it's called? Is kayak simulator? I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Hold on, I gotta look it up now.
Look it up, because the reason why I say it is VR isn't for me just because I'm one of those lame-os that just gets motion sickness. It's just, it is what it is.
Same.
It stinks for
Same.
me.
It's called Kayak VR.
Okay, well, but when I saw Kayak VR on the internet, I'm like, well, it's slow. I'm like, just looking at it, I'm like, wow, I could like put on the headset and just be transported to a vacation without being there. So
Yeah. I will say, like, I get motion sickness pretty bad as well, but if the developer did a good job, you won't get motion sickness.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Nice.
And also, like, CBD helps with that, just so you know.
CBD helps with motion sickness?
It does. Yeah. So does ginger as well. So you
Oh,
can take
ginger,
either.
Yeah, I knew about ginger.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, CBD does too. So, in case you're wondering, I have all this knowledge of weird stuff like that.
It's perfect. I love random bits of knowledge.
Yeah.
And
Unless it's about what her new Switch looks like.
yes. Moving on, Roger and I connected when we were at PAX East.
True.
So it was good networking. We all kind of connected through this accidental email where I forget if it was like a publisher.
Oh, were you part of the platonic email?
Yes, I was.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, that was fun. And then so I reached out to Steph and I said, hey, you're from Boston, because you said, hey, anybody wants to know any kind of restaurants to go to, let me know. And I said, cool, I don't know Boston, where's some good places to eat? And then what's really funny was I was just sitting at a table, and then I heard one of your colleagues, Pat, say, hey, Steph. And I was like, are you the same Steph?
I know, as fate would have it, we were in the media room at the same time, at the same table, and you're like, I'm Roger. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're the Roger.
The Roger.
Yeah.
The only Roger on that email list, I guarantee you.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Here we are. Hanging out, talking about games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time. So I want to know, like, I feel like now, especially in like 2023, everybody feels like they need to have a podcast or something, which I mean, we have several, so I mean, who are we to say? But like, what made you want to do a podcast? What made you want to start it? What made you want to do it?
Oh, yeah.
Besides,
so
like, a general love of video games and friends and whatever.
Yeah, that's a good question. So my friend Matt, we worked together in IT, and he turned to me and he said, you want to do a podcast? And I was like, I don't know anything about podcasts. He's like, it'll be fun. Let's just do a podcast. So that's how I got into podcasting. But we did want to do something different than what's out there. Originally, we had like a hot topic, and we would talk about hot topics and debate those hot topics. And then the shift kind of moved from that to more of like interviewing developers along those lines. And I think the other perspective that we have is, like, Matt was a developer. I'm not a developer. Well, I kind of am. I mean, I worked in IT, and what I do for a real life job, because like I know this is shocking, but I don't make money on Gamerheads. I know that's pretty shocking. It's not my full-time job. I know.
It's not shocking to anybody here on this panel. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I do for a real job is I'm an instructional designer. So I actually make games that none of you will ever play, because I make them for my company that I work for people that are learning new software, or for new roles in their career, if they're starting or onboarding with the company. So I make games. Actually, I'm making one in Unity right now. So, but you'll never play those games. So
Still super
Why not?
cool.
Put them on Xbox. I'll play them.
You would never want to play the games.
That sounds really fucking cool, though.
It is cool. It is a cool, and it's a cool gig. And then also I get to do like voice acting as well in a lot of our stuff that we build. So yeah. So, and I also get the podcast too, which is pretty cool. So
nice. Do you make any cool? Do you like do any cool voices, or do you just use your regular voice?
I mean, I guess define what cool voices are. Like, do
Do you change your voice at all? Like, I mean,
I
do you
I
like
do.
now when you drag the snipper whopper over here and it makes your doohickey? I don't know.
I do have I do character voices. Yeah, I do.
Do one. I want to hear one.
Okay. Wow. I was not expecting this. So this was not in your show notes to do a voice character.
Well, you didn't
Oh,
specify you were
oh,
a
welcome,
voice
True.
actor.
That's true.
welcome
That is
to the
true. That's
pod.
fair.
Welcome to the pod.
So like if you listen to, this is not a good rendition of this, but like if you listen to like Harry Potter books on tape, like I love Jim Dale, and like, you know, a Dumbledore voice like, welcome to, you know, Hogwarts, this is your place where you can learn magic, or whatever, you know. So I don't know, this is like my wizardy type, sagey type voice.
I like a good wizard voice.
Yeah. So and I have like weird voices. Like I always like make fun of my coworkers, and I have voices for each one of my coworkers. So I'll say like, "This is what you sound like to me. This is how you sound," and they're like, "That's not how I sound at all." I'm like, "That is actually how you sound."
It's amazing.
So, yeah. So I'm a little crazy, I guess. Like I don't know. So it's
I love
fun.
it.
It's a fun job. It lets me be creative. So how many jobs can you actually say, yeah, I get to be creative and do
Yeah.
fun things like that? So
It's true. It's true. It's fun.
yeah.
That's super fun. So you said you are beginning a VR podcast. Why VR? I mean, I think VR is interesting. I don't own a headset myself. PSVR seems interesting, but it's also like a $550 accessory to my PlayStation that I don't play. So like, I mean, but like, why VR? I've always been interested. I've always wanted to try it. I just, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of really cool things that are happening in VR right now. So, you know, outside of just even the gaming, there are people that are using VR for like therapy, actually. So like if you experience a traumatic event, there are therapies out there now in VR to help you deal with traumatic events and get over that type of stuff. So that's just outside of the gaming world, right? So there's really cool things that are happening in VR. So I wanted to explore that. And I mean, there are podcasts, don't get me wrong, there are podcasts in VR. Like people do podcasts about VR already, but I thought like it would be cool to come from a different perspective and interview developers and understand like how they like build something in VR. And like sometimes it's the first time they ever built anything in VR, right? Like I interviewed Mighty Yell, who did the Big Con. That was their first game. Their second game was A Night in the Attic, which is a VR game. And like to me, that I think that's fascinating. I'm like, your second game you made was in VR? That's crazy. But I love hearing those different types of stories. Yeah, and like my last guest that's gonna be airing on Sunday, he was using hand tracking technology, which is like it's come a long way since it first came out. So to hear him talk about it and talk about how it started with just a game jam that he wanted to try out. Can he build something in with hand tracking? And in 2 weeks, he wanted to see what he can do with that feature. And then built a game 2 years later that's all built on hand tracking technology. So there's really cool things that are happening in VR. So I just wanted to explore that and see. And I find it fascinating too. And in fact, like we've dabbled in VR where I work at too. So it's kind of cool.
I think it's a great perspective to bring that it's beyond just games, not to put down games because I'm on a podcast that talks about games, but the fact that it could be very therapeutic because I'm in the healthcare industry for my quote unquote real job. I mean, I'm in pharmacy, but ironically, as a pharmacist, I'm not opposed to medication, but I'm like, I am the guardian of medication, so to speak. I'm like, people should really only be on it unless they really need to be on it. So
Yeah.
my interest lies in all forms of therapy. So just to like, wow, VR, like I wish more people
Yeah.
knew about this kind of information and that VR might be, just another wonderful means of kind of helping someone get through something.
Yeah. And
Listen
it,
here,
oh,
listen
go
here,
ahead.
gatekeeper of medicine. Like
Oh,
I
wow.
want my Percocet.
Mm. Mm.
But yeah, I mean, like it's also can like train you to do things that maybe you don't have to do, like before you do something in real life, right? Like I think of like
Yeah.
we're not this far yet, but like eventually it would be cool that people can perform surgeries in VR or AR, right? Before actually performing them on
Human.
in real life, right? Like on a human, right? So but you know, like even veterinarians or whatever, like there could be some really high stake jobs out there that could really, you know, learn a lot from VR if it's used properly.
Well, that'd be great because when I learned how to suture, I practiced on a banana.
Wait, what?
You know, when you suture a wound, like stitches, one of the
You
first.
said practice on a banana. My mind completely went somewhere else. I was very confused.
Ouch. No, like an actual fruit banana. I was just suturing on a banana. Anyway,
VR.
I don't like that word.
Banana?
I don't.
You don't like bananas?
Suture. And I love bananas.
Oh, Corey likes bananas.
I do. I eat 2 a day.
That's a lot of potassium, dude.
Why am I not surprised?
What? I like a good banana. Okay.
I bet you do.
Do.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that's me.
If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dirrig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support.
I don't know how to transition out of that. I'm sorry. I'm trying.
We got stuck on bananas, so you know it's that's how we get. That's what happens here. Well, Roger, we're happy you're here. We're glad you could join us to kind of get back to I would feel like an old school episode. I feel like the last few have been so kind of different. So we're gonna talk about what we've been playing. And Roger, since you're our esteemed guest, you get to go first.
Oh wow. Well, thank you. So the first game I'm going to talk about 2 games, and then probably the second game. I think Corey, you probably played this game as well. But the first game is one of the VR games that I'm actually reviewing, and I talked to the developers about what it's Rogue Ascent. So it does use the hand tracking technology, and it's a roguelike in VR. It's all procedurally generated as well, which is fascinating. And you shoot guns, and your guns are your fingers, and you just point your fingers out, and you're holding guns in VR, which is amazing. It's so cool. Besides that, you also have special powers you can use. You have shields that you can block with as well, based on like your hand gestures. And it feels like, if you've never played a VR game before, like this is a game that you should play because it's so different. And before the show, like we were talking about motion sickness in VR, or maybe during the show, I don't remember. But I will say, like, and I said this before, like if a developer does it correctly, you don't get motion sickness. And in this game, you're zipping around in the room, and I did not get sick at all. So it's really a great game. And the other thing, like so, you know, probably all of you too, you get emails saying, hey, do you want to review this game? And when I first got the email, I thought, well, this is probably just a demo of like how this tech works, right? But actually, it's a full game. It feels like a console game. There's boss battles in it. There's several different levels. There's gun crafting and different guns. There's like, I think he said like 60 different guns or something in this game. It's pretty crazy. And I've just scratched the surface of it. There's like so much in this game. So yeah. So if you have a VR Quest, it's on a Quest right now, because that's the only VR that's actually using hand tracking technology right now. You can get that. It's going to come out on the 4th, May the 4th. Yeah.
I almost went like this, but that is Star Trek, and LeRon would have wrung my neck.
Yeah, wrong franchise.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, wait, that's not it.
So that's Rogue Ascent. The other game I've been playing, and I'm sure I'll talk about more on the podcast, is Redfall. So that's the new game that's out on the Xbox. It's on Game Pass right now. And it boasts the idea that you can play either single player or multiplayer, and you can have people drop in and out, and you hunt vampires. And I mean, I'm having fun with it. I mean, I think it's really fun to play with a bunch of people. It does have its issues with, I think, world building. I think they could have populated the world a little bit more. But I mean, it's only been out for a day, and I'm enjoying what I played so far of it. So
Yeah, on that note, like I've also been playing Redfall a little bit. I've probably played about 2 hours. I would say, like, my biggest thing is, like, I'm so used to playing Destiny, which is fast and kinetic, and runs at 60 to 120 frames a second, and everyone's moving fast and stuff. And this is, like, I think a lot of people with Redfall, and don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a great game. I don't think it's terrible what I've played so far, like the internet seems to think it is, right? But, like, I think a lot of people look at this and see shooter and vampire and, like, a looter shooter, and think it's going to be fast paced with a lot. Like, I think a lot of people think this is Borderlands with vampires, right? And
yeah,
I don't think it's that. I feel like the characters are, if you took Corvo from Dishonored and broke up his ability wheel and separated them into classes, and you have to be stealthy and methodical, and they put that in a multiplayer experience because they want you to work together with the different powers and the different weapons and stuff to take on these cultists and vampires and stuff. I ran into an issue where, like, there were some AI issues where, like, I would come up to the enemies and they wouldn't react. Like, that was one of my very first experiences, and I was like, oh my gosh, if this is, like, hopefully that they address this or whatever. And also the game only runs at 30 frames a second, which I prefer 60. I know a lot of people don't care, but that's just a nitpick by me. I do think the shooting
Not
feels
just a
very.
nitpick by you.
I know. I'm just saying, like, the telemetry shows that a lot of people actually prefer, what is it? Not performance mode. What's the other one? Fidelity mode
Fidelity
over
mode.
performance mode.
Yeah.
And they actually switch it if it's on performance mode, which is fascinating. Like, over 70% of people will do that.
yeah.
But I think the shooting actually feels pretty good. I think the weapons feel good. I think the powers are interesting. I just picked the first guy on the screen because I wanted to get into it and start playing before, I did 1,000 other things between then and now. But I think the vampire stuff is cool. It reminds me a little bit of Destiny when they introduced the Hive Guardians, and you had to kind of kill their ghosts to actually eliminate them. And you need to have a stake on your weapon to make sure you can, at least stake the vampire through the heart. And the death animations of the vampires is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think this game was ready to be released, but I think they have an interesting premise. And and I think being on Game Pass actually benefits it in this regard. But if they kind of stick with it and fix some of the issues that the game has, and they keep updating it and maybe populate the world a little bit more, because, like, the world feels kind of empty, but, like, the things you find around the world that tells the story is actually pretty interesting. Like, the stuff you find on the boat at the beginning, or, like, the stuff you find in some, like, around town or in the, some of the buildings and stuff is actually very interesting. And so I'm not as down on Redfall as I initially thought I was going to be, based on that one AI interaction, or as the internet, because everybody hates the internet, or the internet hates everything. But, like, I kind of am into the whole let's go team up with some friends and kill some vampires thing. I do want to note though that if you are playing with friends and if you are not the host, your progress does not carry back to your own game, similar to State of Decay. So if you're playing with friends, just keep that in mind. You know, if you know, I think this game benefits from people who are further in the story or the mission log or whatever. Go play their friends' games and let them be the host so they can move the progress forward. But it works like State of Decay in that fashion. But I think, man, if this would have just had like another year or so, like I think they could have had something. But also every every game as a service, including ones that Microsoft has put out. Look at Sea of Thieves, right? That game was, pardon my pun, dead in the water, right? When it came out, right? And it's Microsoft's biggest game at like 30 million players, right? Have at least logged in within the last 18 months. So like, you know, I think everybody's a little too overreactive. I do understand that a lot of Xbox players, including myself, are frustrated with Microsoft about not getting games out. There's no timeline. I think this puts a lot more pressure on Starfield to be something spectacular, even though it's
I
not
want
fair.
Starfield to be something spectacular, but you know what? Let's get past the "what are we playing" segment because I feel like we need to tumble back to this.
I know we will, and I just want to say one last thing on Redfall before we get out of here. I think if we revisit this game a year from now, and people haven't given up on it, or you know, they've added some interesting things, I think we might feel a little bit different because there is something here. It just needed some more time to bake. So
I need to say this right now before I forget it because I will forget it. We're getting fatigued by this stuff. Like I'm getting tired of games being broken on launch, and then
well,
we have to.
Great news for you. Diablo 4 comes out in 4 weeks. So
Oh, I know. Hopefully they're doing right with all this beta testing and stuff like that. But honestly, like, because I just sent this to Andre, you know, my buddy on Crossroads. I sent this to him, and like there was basically a whole month's worth of games that were listed that were broken on launch and stuff, and it's crazy, you know, broken on launch or unplayable and stuff like that. So, you know, like I get it, you know, like crunch culture is a thing, you know, like shareholders, you know, want that money, you know, and all this stuff. But you know what? Like it's going to get to a point where gamers stop buying games, and then there's going to be a serious problem.
Yeah, and I also want to point out, not that this is like something that should be taken. You can take it however you want, however you feel about Redfall. But Redfall was started and about 65% complete when Microsoft purchased Bethesda. And I don't know. I just was reading some articles and listening to some videos today about how, you know, this shouldn't be put on Microsoft as much as it should be with Bethesda. And I'm like, well, it should probably be put on both.
It should probably be put on both.
But I just, maybe that was worth noting. But I want to reiterate, I don't think it's a bad game. And I think there's something here. As someone who started Destiny in the alpha phase of D1 and stuck with it, I'm just saying, you have to be patient with these games, these types of games. And you would have thought some company would have learned by now, but you see the Division 2 both launched in bad states. No Man's Sky, now Redfall. All these games as a service do not launch with all of their content or up to snuff of what people expect. And it's not an excuse to have some things broken, but I just want to say, if you're planning on this to be a game as a service, give it a couple months, give it 6 months, give it a year, and let's see how this game transforms over time.
I'm gonna take us back in time for a little bit.
Nope.
Okay.
I'm just kidding, LeRon. I'm just kidding.
No, because everybody remembers Mass Effect Andromeda, right?
What's that?
Everybody remembers Mass Effect Andromeda, right?
Never heard of it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
It's
Well,
just-
guess what? I was a day oneer. You know, I pre-ordered it when they announced it, essentially, and everything. Right, the game comes out and everything, and I'm playing on the PC. You know, and I'm not gonna say it was unplayable, but it got to the point where like I could no longer enjoy playing the game. You know, so I stopped playing it, and then everybody's like, and like a year later, everybody's like, oh man, like all the patches and stuff are out now. Like man, the game's great now, and I have never come back to it. Never come back to it, and that was me trying to be patient.
So I actually played a little bit of Mass Effect. I actually played a lot of Mass Effect Andromeda right before Anthem came out because I don't know. I was like, well, let's play Mass Effect before BioWare's new game comes out. That sounds like a great idea. I didn't have any issues with. I mean, again, it was probably like a year after that game came out.
You played it post-launch, post-patch.
That's what I'm saying, though, and it was fun.
Oh, I'm sure it's fun. But you know what?
Jetpacks in Mass Effect. Who would have thought? Great idea.
I'm sure it's fun, but the problem is like I don't know, like maybe I'm just a different caliber gamer and stuff like that because I don't need the games to be perfect when they come out. I don't need the games to be perfect when they come out. I really don't. Like I put up with Cyberpunk.
It's true.
Yeah, I gave Cyberpunk more latitude than I gave Mass Effect, and everyone knows like I'm a Mass Effect junkie.
Mm-hmm. I actually didn't have any issues with Cyberpunk when I played it either. But apparently, playing the Xbox One version on Xbox Series X was the best way to play it if you were playing on console. So
yeah, I was playing on PC with a underdeveloped graphics card.
Yeah. So
yeah, I do think there is some.
My graphics card didn't support ray tracing at the time when I had it.
What were you saying, Roger?
Well, I do think there is something about the fact that there's so many games coming out, right? And it's not like okay, as I'm older, right? Like when I was a kid, like you got a game and there wasn't as many games that came out and you got a game. And if it was like not the greatest experience, like that's what you played and you played it. Right. And I think now, well, a couple things. One, I think people's expectations, like this is how I always review games, right? Like what was the objective of the game and what was the dev trying to accomplish in the game versus like what did I expect in the game, right? And I think that a lot of times, and this is the echo chamber of the internet, right? I think there's expectations that people have of like, this is what I wanted in the game. I'm like, well, I don't know if that's what they promised you. Mm-hmm. Not saying that that's not the case with Redfall. I do think there are some issues with Redfall, but I also do think that it is very cool. And I say cool, like in quotations, right? Like everybody just jumps, and Corey, you said this too, right? Like everybody just kind of dumps on a game because that's the cool thing. That's what cool kids do now, right?
I want to, to that point real quick before we like, so Jedi Survivor came out this week too. That game is totally busted too. Nobody started jumping on that game. You know why? Because Star Wars is cool.
Oh, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. I can direct you to an entire area of the internet. I'm
just saying the same people who are dunking on Redfall for being broken in my feeds are praising Jedi Survivor, and it is broken.
That's okay. That's fair. That's fair. But honestly, I don't know. Like I feel like just like, you know, like we have games on Switch that come out that are horribly broken and they still wind up, you know, not just being the top selling Switch games, but also propel Switch sales like to new heights and stuff like that. You know, that game released and all of a sudden Nintendo set a new record with the Nintendo Switch sales, you know, stuff like that. You know,
yeah.
The internet and the gaming community is weird. Gaming culture as a whole is kind of, it's dysfunctional, you know, and stuff like that, you know.
It's the best.
Because we swear up and down like we want games to come out and be enjoyable, be playable and stuff like that. But we pick and choose what we're going to like, you know, like crucify versus what we're going to like prop up. And a lot of times like people are propping up the games that don't even need to be that should not be propped up because they have like very bad problems. And, you know, you wind up going to Metacritic and seeing like actual critic scores that actually reflect that there's a problem, you know. while at the same time, games that are rock solid, have a hard time fighting because there's some other, there's drivel out there.
Unfortunately, it's this just simple, not to be reductive, simple concept of human bias. And that's the most blatant form of bias, and these people have this much self-awareness, and I'm holding up a big fat 0.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a gamer. I love gaming and stuff like that. But my roommate, he bought Star Wars Jedi Survivor day one on Steam, and this guy has the cream of the crop, like PC setup, as far as hardware and stuff like that. And he told me the next day he demanded a refund from Steam and got his money back from it because the game was unplayable with a 4090 graphics card and a 5950, Ryzen processor and all that stuff. And I'm like, I have practically almost everything he has except for the amount of RAM, and I don't have a 4090. I have a 3090 though. And if he's having trouble playing that, I'm not even going to try and play Star Wars right now. And I wanted that game day one.
Yeah. I'll also say just one other thing on this topic, and I don't mean to keep us too long on this topic, but it would be interesting because I grew up in the era of Atari. So like that was my first system. Well, actually, my first system was a Pong machine, but then my real first system was an Atari.
My first system was an Atari 2600.
Yes, 2600. And you would look at the artwork on the box, right? And you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, this game's gonna be amazing!" And then you play it, and it's nothing like the art on the box, right? So I don't know. Like, I feel like maybe I'm more, I don't want to say forgiving, but at least more like in awe of where we've come in like a short amount of time. And I always wonder, like, if we, and I know like games they're much different than they were in the Atari time. But if like if you were to take the general public and put them, never experienced Atari and say, here's an Atari game, look at the art on the box and now play it. Like, talk about expectations. They'd be like, this is nothing like the art. This doesn't look like this character at all, right? Correct.
remember taking Pac-Man for the 2600 home?
Yes.
After having the arcade experience?
Yes. Yeah, even that, right? Like just the difference between the arcade and the console game was so different.
Yeah.
Like Donkey Kong too. Like Donkey Kong is fantastic in the arcade. The early versions of Donkey Kong, like on console, not great.
Yeah,
so.
True.
Anyway, sorry, I will be quiet now.
No, stop. This is stop.
No. I like that we're having a really good conversation off of what we have been playing. I like this because really, like we need to analyze what's going on with gaming as a whole and stuff like that. I'm not going to completely blame the developers for the way games are, even though I will say, like, having games ship poorly optimized, no matter if it's for the Xbox Series X, the Xbox One, the PS4, the PS5, the PC, having games ship out poorly optimized is not the way to win. It's not.
Yeah.
And these are supposed to be big titles, right? Redfall is like Xbox's big one next to Starfield, and Star Wars. I mean, I don't need to beat that dead horse, but.
And here's the crazy part about it: Star Wars got a hard delay and then a soft delay.
A 6 weeks delay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but look, the mouse wants his money. We gotta push that Star Wars.
The mouse is making money. They keep popping Ron DeSantis in his mouth. They're making money.
Oh boy, yeah. I saw somebody tweet out today. They were like, when the mouse is done with DeSantis, the mouse is gonna own Florida.
It's true.
Oh man, good times. Stephanie, what are you playing?
What am I playing? I'm playing a bunch of smaller titles in between my two AAA sandwiches, Resident Evil 2 remake, which we finished, and Tears of the Kingdom. There are so many games that, like, for example, the Star Wars and stuff like that I was tempted to start, but I'm like, no, I can't. I can't start a big game weeks away from Tears of the Kingdom, because if there's one franchise that I will put above all, LeRon, be quiet, is The Legend of Zelda. So
I was shaking my head because, like, if you actually play Star Wars, Jedi Survivor is not a long game by any stretch. Like,
it was the Zelda comment. I was just like, quiet.
No. No, I was saying like you could probably if you start Jedi Survivor today, because like apparently like the patches have come out and it's playable now. But if you start Jedi Survivor today, you could probably have it beat by this time next week.
Really? All right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of factoring in everything
That's
else.
me being conservative with timetables and stuff like that because I know Zelda's coming out real soon.
Yeah, and so I've been playing a lot of like more indie titles. I have played. Did I talk about Coffee Talk 2 last week? Because I know I talked
You
about
did.
Strayed Lights. So okay, so there's that. I'm playing Roots of Pacha. It's been a long time since I've played a farming sim. I'm not really a farming sim person. When I in the N64 days, I played Harvest Moon 64 hard. But that I had my fix, and ever since then, they had, like, 20 Harvest Moons, and that's why I ended up losing interest in a farming sim. I'm like, "They're all kinda the same." But, it's indie, it was at PAX, and they had a very successful Kickstarter, and it's a slightly different premise because it takes place in the Stone Age. I'm like, "You know what? Why not?"
Mhm.
So I'm playing through it. It's fun, you know. It's I like it because I can pick it up, play a day, put it down. Because unless like an epic game like a God of War, if I play it, I need to kind of keep playing it, or else if I stop and go back to it, I'm not gonna know what the hell I'm doing. Here it's like just another day on the farm. so so
Got your chores.
got my chores to do, got my people to court. Rocks to mine, fishing. So yeah, but no, it's pleasant. And then I also tried Cadence of Hyrule because there's a free seven day trial. Interesting game for Nintendo to pick, but I'm glad they did because I am not a rhythm game person because I am not good at rhythm games. I have two left feet and two left hands apparently. But I downloaded it, I played it, and I am so bad at it. I am so bad, but I wanna like, I'm really giving my best effort. The songs slap. It's great. I'm still shocked Nintendo even allowed, an IP such as Zelda to be put in the hands of, I think it's Brace Yourself Games, to do this, and it's fabulous. I just wish I had the gaming talent to I'm not gonna be able to beat this game. I'm just not that good at it. Like, I just wish I had the talent to do so. Um, I'll just have to get the soundtrack. Love the music though.
Oh, the soundtrack is great. Soundtrack is great for Cadence of Hyrule. I definitely got a kick out of it when I played it.
Yeah, so that's really kind of it because work's been ramping up. I've been finishing editing my novel. My son, Minecraft Dungeons came out on PS Plus or something like a month ago, so he's been hogging my PlayStation. So I went and bought Minecraft for the Switch so he can get off my PlayStation. Um, Oh, and this is not playing a game, but it's something I watch. So instead of watching TV like a normal person, I watch Let's Plays. And normally they are Let's Plays of horror games because I'm too much of a chicken to play it personally. And I've heard like there's such a strong cult following for Five Nights at Freddy's. So
Mm.
just been binge watching all of Markiplier's Five Nights at Freddy's, and holy crap, there's a lot of lore and a lot of scares with it. I wasn't impressed with Security Breach, but the original few games of Five Nights at Freddy's, holy crap, it's terrifying. So to have like a big loud goof like Markiplier play it and react to it, I was able to experience the game without booping myself. Has anyone
Nice.
played Five Nights at Freddy's? Not you,
No.
Corey.
I have.
Yeah, that's all
Mm-mm.
right. Oh, and last but not least, Corey, you better mute yourself. Show and tell. I got my Zelda OLED, and it's amazing, and it doesn't look like poop. Um, it's lovely. My son is now graduated to an OLED. He's gotten my OLED. I have this one. We are good until the next generation, and I sold my day one Switch. Made some money on the side.
Nice. LeRon, what are you playing?
I'm still playing the games I was playing last week. So that's Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. I gotta say, like I'm still enjoying myself and everything. The game is fun. I I don't remember Advance Wars being this hard. Like, there's been so many times. Oh, and they have this new feature now in the game where it's called Reset the Turn, which means basically at the start of your turn, if you realize you've made a mistake or you've goofed something in your tactics and whatnot, before you end that turn, you can reset the turn and go back to the beginning of it.
Yeah,
I've done that quite a
Fire Emblem implemented that a couple entries
Okay.
ago. So
Yeah, I've used that a few times, you know, in missions. I've also like just completely surrendered and started over on the mission. Like, I don't remember the game being this hard, but then again, it's been a long time since I played it because once Advance Wars Dual Strike came out for the 3DS for Nintendo DS, I'm sorry. Yeah, wait. Yeah, Nintendo DS, yeah. Once Dual Strike came out, like, I stopped playing Advance Wars 1 and 2. So I just do not remember these games. And the crazy part about Reboot Camp, you have to beat Advance Wars 1 to unlock Advance Wars 2. Because I would have just went immediately into Advance Wars 2 because Advance Wars 2, you know, you had your different picks of the COs and stuff like that. And yeah, but I'm still having a lot of fun and stuff like that. I'm like, man, like, where are all my units at? Because I'm so used to like all these expansive units from Mass Effect, from Advance Wars 2 and Advance Wars Dual Strike. I'm used to those, and I'm like, man, wow, it's so restricting on this first one, but it's still a lot of fun, you know.
How long of a game is it? Generally speaking.
Actually, you can drop some hours into it. Let me see something here. Advance Wars 1 gameplay length. Look at time. The main story can be beaten in just under 15 hours. If you do all the extra stuff, you're looking at a 24-hour game. And if you're being a completionist, 30 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a nice healthy, but not too bloated at all. That's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm still in the Monster Hunter train, so yeah, I'm working my way up. I did play the title update 5, the main monster for that, which is a Matsu, and that's pretty fun. That's pretty fun. I've only fought it once though. That's the thing. I only fought it once, and the team I was with, we crashed and burned. Everybody got clapped, so you know that was a thing. You know. But yeah, I've been doing a little bit of catch up too though, because like I didn't play none of the last title update portion of it, so like there's some content that I have to go back through and like just get caught up on that and stuff like that.
What hunter level are you, LeRon?
I am don't give me the lying. I'm somewhere in Master Rank. I know I'm above Master Rank 150. I know that. I want to say I'm like Master Rank 157 or something like that. Hunter rank, I'm in the 300s now.
Isn't that insane? The few times that I've played with LeRon, it would show like his hunter rank is like in the hundreds, and I'm like rank 2. It's great.
Rank means nothing. Rank means nothing. All rank does is just allows you to play different monsters.
LeRon, are you a fan of Monster? I mean, are you like a fan of the series?
Yes.
So did you play World of Monster Hunter? Wasn't it?
Oh yeah. World is my favorite. I got a couple of friends that they just started playing Rise, like that's their first Monster Hunter game. And I've actually thought about like the next time World goes on sale, I think I might gift them a copy of World so I can go back to Monster Hunter World to play.
Yeah. Well, that's so weird to me because of the fact, and we just talked about this with other games for service, right? But like these games really are like, you know, you can play them solo, but like they're really supposed to be played with friends, and like the ideas that they keep building onto the world. But like I mean, it's weird to me that, you know, you go from Worlds and then you jump to the next one, right? Like I jumped on and Monster Hunter Tri for the Wii. But
that's my least favorite Monster Hunter game, honestly. And it's not it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that it was on the Wii or anything like that. It was just when you playing the other Monster Hunter games previous to this, like, you know, like the Wii was a new platform and stuff like that, so Capcom didn't put a lot of content into the game. So like I wound up after like 100-something hours, I wound up just stopping. Where like most Monster Hunter games, like I cap out at over 900 hours.
Yeah. Well, that's the weird thing. That's like my right. That's why I wanted to like. It's weird to, like you said, you played 900 hours of like Worlds, and then a new one comes out, and then you pay another 900 hours in that. It's just so
Yeah.
fascinating to me that these games are really games of service, and
They are.
and yet they come up with new ones all the time. That's fascinating.
Yeah. Like I tell people all the time, like I don't usually stop playing the whatever the current Monster Hunter game is until the new Monster Hunter game comes out. And I think what's kind of cool about World and Rise for the most part is that they have basically the same mechanics. I mean, there are some things that are hyper tuned in Rise that are different in World and stuff like that. But you can go from one game to the other and play them back and forth, and there's not too much of a disconnect and stuff like that. Now, going back to any Monster Hunter games previous to that, there's a disconnect because Legacy Monster Hunter plays nothing like Generation 5 Monster Hunter. Yeah. So that's pretty much it for me. There's Star Wars would have been the game that I was gonna say I was gonna be playing this week, but just hearing what I've heard, having someone who actually lives in the house with me, and saying what they said, I was like, I will wait. I will wait. I will wait. I hate this. I hate to do this to you, Respawn, but this looks like a $40 or an under game for me now at this point. I hate to say it, but this is the punishment that I feel like developers and publishers need to understand. Like if the reviews come out and the reviews are not saying I don't care when someone on a review says it's a bad game because like the story this or that, I worry about when they say like we're having technical problems playing the game, and it's not just our pre-launch copy, it's our launch copies as well and stuff like that. When I see that type of stuff, that is the type of stuff that will prevent me from buying your game on day one. And I want to play Jedi Survivor, but I also need to make sure that I am getting my enjoyment out of it on a gaming PC that I spent a lot of money to play games on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. So that's everything I've been playing. And I'm playing some mobile games, Street Fighter Duel, which is fun, and I'm actually playing free to play. Like I can't say I have not spent money on the game. Like I've thrown a couple of dollars here and there just for some ancillary stuff. But I'm not actually I'm not trying to throw like whale money at these games like a lot of people do on these pay to win games. Yeah, so that's everything for me.
Nice. Well, I've been playing a few things. We kind of already went through Redfall, so I will skip that. I played a little bit of Jedi Survivor, and I couldn't get far enough to tell you if I like it or not because it crashed on me. It looks pretty. I mean, and the combat feels similar to the last one. Jedi Survivor kept crashing on me, so I just stopped. It's a pretty game. I am excited to play it when they fix it. So it'll probably be sometime after Tears of the Kingdom. So we might, if they fix it by then, we might do a book club on it. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it's interesting. But the game I want to talk about the most, guys, is Disney Speedstorm. And let me tell you, it is awful. It's terrible. Do not buy the game on. First of all, if you are dead set in purchasing this game, a founder's pack of the game, do not buy it on Switch. It is it runs at like 12 frames a second. It's just it was a very bad experience. Also, like I don't know how many people know this or not, so this is a PSA for you guys. None of the characters are unlocked at the beginning. You have to progress through their quote unquote starter circuit to unlock like 5 characters, which is like Mickey, Donald, Mulan, and there's a couple other. I didn't play long enough to unlock anymore. So I initially bought it because I was like, oh, this will be a cool like Mario Kart kind of game that I can play, and my kids like Disney and I like Disney, and Figment was the event character this past weekend. I was like, yeah, let's get Figment. That'll be fun. And then I'll main Figment and I won't ever have to play anything else ever again. but it runs really terribly. It is pay to win, extremely pay to win. And you don't unlock new parts. You can't buy new parts. You buy loot boxes, which you can get duplicate parts, duplicate crew members. Certain crew members only work with certain characters, and they don't tailor it to the characters that you've unlocked. They actually, most of the stuff I got was for characters that are still
What?
locked. And yeah, and I like when I was actually playing the game wasn't it's no Mario Kart 8, but it wasn't bad, right? Like the act of driving the cars uh and playing wasn't bad, but there's extreme rubber banding. Like I found myself in first place most of the race, and then I would come in fourth at the last second just because, they want you to buy the loot boxes to upgrade your cars and upgrade your characters and upgrade your crew members and unlock better special abilities. And this game was really promising because it's kind of like a hero shooter kart racer where like each character has their own unique ability that you can use alongside the items that you get, right? Because it's kind of like Mario Kart, right? You get an item, you can throw the item, you can use it as a defense thing, whatever. But each character also has their own special ability, and you can upgrade your special ability to become more powerful, do different things, do new things, enhance the things it already does. That is a cool premise. I also want to say the level design is incredibly faithful to the movies that they like. There's a Pirates of the Caribbean level that's Port Royal. It's incredibly faithful to the movie. You get to go onto the Black Pearl. You can, you kind of go around the port. It's super cool. The music also a banger soundtrack. If you like Disney music and like clubhouse music, they fuse them together. Super cool. Love that aspect. But the fact that like it runs like very bad on Switch. The pay to win aspects, not being able to unlock the characters, and you can't just go in and buy the characters either. You have to get the currency and go into here's the thing, there are 3 separate loot box categories that you can go into to get loot boxes. One of them is characters and crew members, and like you have to unlock the characters through that system seemingly. And like you get a token at the beginning if you buy a founders pack to unlock one character, right?
my gosh.
Like it's just this huge pay to win mobile, like because it's going to be free to play on consoles and mobile devices, right? That's the big catch, is it's a free to play game. And man, if they would tune it and fix some of the issues. Oh, also there's a battle pass you can buy that has items on it that aren't in the loot boxes either. So
Am I missing something here? Like, is this like a very successful pricing model, like maybe in mobile gaming that I'm just not as familiar with? Because I'm like, what idiot thought
Is this
this
a
was a
mobile
good
game?
idea?
yeah, it's
Is
a
it
mobile game.
because of that?
It
I'm
will
just
be a
saying,
mobile game. I don't know
it
if
just
it's on
seems like a
mobile
really
yet, but
stupid premise, everything you just described.
yeah, it's a pretty popular pricing model. It's what a lot of mobile games use.
Like Fall Guys does too. Like Fall Guys,
Yeah.
you can buy the battle pass, but then there's also like you can buy this skin as well and this skin as well outside the battle pass.
I guess,
right?
but also the fact
Yeah.
that like the whole loot box system at least just seems, I don't know, at least like have the what the loot that you get be pertinent to the characters you have, or I don't know, like a little bit more relevant, maybe. I don't know, but I don't tend to play these kind of games, so I'm obviously not speaking from a point of authority. So
Yeah. And it's sad because this seemed like a really interesting, promising game. And like the same company makes Disney Dreamlight Valley, which doesn't do any of this, right? Like there's no pay to win mechanics. Everything in there is cosmetic. You can buy cosmetics, you can buy decorations. And they give you the event pass for free, which you can purchase the tiers of the event pass instead of grinding them out, but you can also grind them out and not pay a penny. So like, it's sad because I was actually kind of looking forward to this game, and it's just not do not at least at this point, do not invest any time or money into it unless they adjust it down the road at some point, which they might. But if it's a mobile game, it'll be very little, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the disappointing part about that is, you said like my kids want to play it, right? And it's like, and now you got to tell your kids, I'm sorry, like we can't just continue to buy loot boxes to hope to get the character you want, right? Like that's like, I don't know. I guess somebody would call it exploitation. I don't know. To me, it feels like that's a little like underhanded.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's do not recommend.
Do you play against other people or do you play against just PC characters?
There's both. There's
both.
an online multiplayer mode, and then there is a regular mode. But it feels like they did the thing that Mario Kart Tour did, where like the first couple matches they make you think you're playing online against other people, and then you're just not. But yeah. Well, guys, what do you say we get into some topics here? What do we want to do first? Do we want to talk about the Xbox stuff first, or do we want to do the Sega? What if Sega made a new console first? Because I'm down for either. Although what, LeRon? What were you gonna say?
I'm just thinking about this. I feel like the state of Xbox is probably the meatier thing here. Because, like, I mean, like, if you do the what if, like, we're just pipe dreaming it, which is not a bad thing. But, like, I feel like we can get lost in the weeds real fast. Like,
Well, I actually thought about the Sega thing a lot. And I have a lot of thoughts on that, which would turn it into a meaty conversation.
Okay.
But I think so.
All right, so Corey,
but I don't.
What if Sega made a new console?
All right, guys. What if Sega made a new console? Okay. So I thought a lot about this, and it's been on my mind recently again because of a lot of people have been talking about Dreamcast anniversaries, and a lot of people have been talking about Sega buying Rovio, obviously with Angry Birds, and I actually think if Sega made a new console now, they have enough IP and differentiating factors that they could probably actually be pretty competitive. I wouldn't say dominant. I would say competitive, right? You have your family friendly stuff with Sonic. You have your, they have Yakuza. You think of all the Atlas RPGs. They have their game as a service with Phantasy Star. They have IPs that aren't in use right now, like Beyond Oasis and Crazy Taxi and what's the other one that I was just thinking of? But they have all these things. They could go a route where they could have some sports things, right? Like everybody still considers NFL 2K one of the better sports sims right now. Granted, they wouldn't have the NFL license, but they could do something interesting with that. And obviously third parties. I think they were a pioneer in terms of online gaming on console before Xbox kind of took it to the next level, right? They would have their quote unquote downloadable or indie style titles with like Jet Set Radio. They have a racing game, Sega GT. They have two massive racing titles with Sega Rally and Sega GT that they could compete against Forza and Gran Turismo. So like they have a lot of things out there.
Software,
Billy Hatcher.
Though. I would think, and this is not me being Debbie Downer, like, hey, whatever you can bring on competition, I'm pro competition. But at the same time, you might have a great library of software, but I think it's hard to break into the hardware market. The questions I would ask, and this is, anyone just answer it, right? Like, and I'm genuinely asking, I don't think console wars are a thing anymore. But that aside, who would be Sega's competitors? So it would be Switch or it would be Xbox, PlayStation. I only say that because Nintendo kind of is in their own little thing. And then you got Steam Deck, which I used to think they'd be competitors, but they're really not. And I think, who is it? NVIDIA? No, Logitech. They have their own handheld, but it's cloud-based. So like, and that I'm not sure how well they're doing. So like, who would their competitors be? And I'm not saying it's impossible, but I would say you would need to perfect the hardware to really gain an audience.
Yeah, you do. My one thing, like you talk about breaking into the hardware thing in space, and like obviously we saw Stadia kind of launch and fail. Not that they really made hardware, but you know what I mean. Like getting into this, Amazon Luna is kind of like whatever you're trying to do. But the thing is Sega has done this before, right? And they know what to do and what not to do in that
Sega
space.
used to be eating Nintendo's lunch at one point.
Like don't launch a console without a DVD player like 9 months before the PS2 comes out. But I actually think I think their competitor would probably be more along the lines of PlayStation and Xbox. I think they would want to go that route. I think they offer too many things that offer online support. I think they have a lot of interesting IP that would need more than something that Nintendo does, right? Not that the Switch is, I mean, obviously the Switch has sold a gajillion units and Zelda's amazing and Mario is what it is and Nintendo does their own thing, like you said, Stephanie. But I think you have stuff like, you know, they have a lot of IP that you could compare to IP that Sony and Microsoft do, right? Like Binary Domain would be like their Gears of War kind of competitor. It's a third person cover based shooter against, you know, instead of Locust Horde, you're fighting robots. It's, you know, Sega technically owns Bayonetta, right? Like you have your stylized action game that you could actually give Bayonetta a place where they could thrive and be technically feasible, right? Like I love seeing Bayonetta on the Switch. I really do. I think Switch needs that. But Bayonetta 3, when you look at it and see it running, the character models look great, but the environments look like somebody up-resed a PS2 game in some cases, and it's very noticeable. So that would give it a place to thrive. I think Crazy Taxi would be something really interesting.
Corey was ready for this topic.
I would go back and play Crazy Taxi. I love that game.
Yeah. But then, like, I think a lot of people also discount, like, they own Persona, right? They own Shin Megami Tensei. They own all of Atlas. They have Yakuza, right? Judgment. You have your action games. You have your JRPGs covered. You have your kid stuff covered with Super Monkey Ball, Sonic, Billy Hatcher, Choo Choo Rocket, even if you want to get into the puzzle space or something. Like you could make a Choo Choo Rocket game similar to what Nintendo does with Box Boy, right? Like a $10 download game with a bunch of puzzles.
Choo Choo Rocket, man, like that, man. I remember like that game just it dominated the Dreamcast.
Yeah, and you could do your survival horror stuff with, like, you know, you could technically bring back Blue Stinger if you really wanted to. I'm only half joking, but that game is like a
cult classic,
hilarious joke favorite game of mine on the Dreamcast. But if you wanted to get more Resident Evil or Silent Hilly with it, you could definitely do something like House of the Dead as a survival horror game, right? Like you could do a Resident Evil stuck in a mansion solving puzzles type thing, right? And Phantasy Star, you could go either way with that too. They could turn that into their Final Fantasy, right? Like you have an online version, you have a single player version over here. You could do, you know, make an interesting world. You could have cool characters. Maybe you can. I mean, if they made like a AAA budget Phantasy Star 5, I mean, I think people who like grew up with Master System and Genesis would like freak out. I think that would be awesome. You know, Beyond Oasis could be your Zelda like, right? Like you could kind of just go and explore this world and these towns and I don't know, man. I've been thinking a lot about this. This question came up on Pal Block at one point, and I didn't have a real answer for it, but like I thought this would be a cool discussion here. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Roger, you're shaking I see a lot of head shaking your way. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I would love Sega to get back into the market. Like, that thing would be cool because I think, Steph, what you said, like, I like the idea of competition, because I want these, because we're only going to get better if we have better consoles from the other big players too, is if they're not complacent, right? I will say, like, Google Stadia or however you want to pronounce it, like, I had that. But when they announced it, their CEO came out and said, I'm not really into games, but we're going to get into the gaming industry. And I'm like, oh no, this is a disaster. So like, it would be refreshing to have like another company saying, hey, we know, like, we were in that market. It would be cool. Like, I think from an investor standpoint, right, I think there would be some questions of like, do we invest in a company that couldn't hack it back in early 2000, right? And the industry is much different now than it was in 2000. And Sega during the late 90s and maybe early 2000s, like, their marketing was so different. Like, that was in the world of console wars, right? Like, and they played into that like hard.
Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Yeah,
exactly. It would be interesting to see like how different they would market today, because I think, Corey, to your point, like, those of us that grew up with the Genesis and the Master System, like, we remember that, right? Remember those console wars, and but the generation now does not remember that. In fact, they think Sonic is Nintendo, right? Like, I'm pointing over here because I have my amiibo.
No, Roger,
Sonic
you're
amiibo
absolutely
over here,
right,
so.
because that was going to be my next point is, if Sega came out with a console, I know like older millennial and up will be like, hey, I remember when, I'm going to buy it. Well, I don't know why I used to voice like that, but the younger millennial and Gen Z, like you said, they think, oh, Sonic and Nintendo or something, and they don't have the history of Sega Genesis. Like, what's that old? Like, do you think the younger generation would flock to a Sega system?
I think Sonic is bigger than ever. My nephews love Sonic. It was funny because like they didn't even know Sonic had games out, like because of the movie.
Not like the IP,
right?
but
Sonic,
they don't know the Sega Genesis, right? Like,
no, they don't. But I think they love Sonic, and like they buy Sonic stuff, right? I mean, if you market it and said, put Sonic on the box of this console, I think they would love it, and like, and we haven't even gotten to like weird stuff like Toe Jam and Earl and
oh my gosh,
and Alex Kidd and Total War, right? And Trauma Center. Like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Shinobi,
C-Man.
Yeah, C-Man. Oh my gosh, could you imagine an online C-Man? Oh boy.
We can't go back to C-Man. There's no more Leonard Nimoy. We can't do that.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, even the arcade world, right? Like, Sega really leans into the arcades. Like, one of my favorite games, and maybe it just doesn't age well, but I love Die Hard Trilogy or Die Hard Arcade. I mean, that was such a great game on a Saturn. Oh my gosh, I loved that game. And I think that they could survive if they knew like their market, and they knew like if they leaned into the, hey, remember these games and remember how awesome arcade games were? Like, we're going to bring that back to you.
Oh my God. Bring back Virtual Fighter, Virtual On, all that stuff. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man, dude, could you imagine if they brought back Virtual Fighter and like people weren't laughing at it because Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat are so good? Like, I feel like Virtual Fighter is like the forgotten.
That is the most technical
right?
fighting game I have ever played.
Yeah. It was good. I mean, you got a drunken kung fu master in that. Like, that was awesome.
Yoda.
That was so much fun.
People think freaking Tekken is technical, but no. Virtual Fighter was where you learn. I think Virtual Fighter is where people learned how to count frames in fighting games.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought it'd be an interesting thing, and like you could have your arcade racer with like Outrun, right? Like I don't know. I think there's a lot of cool things you could do with their IP that they own. Not that they would like, bring them all out at once or whatever, and they would have to be very methodical. And I don't know if their development capacity could handle all these IP at once, right? But like, I don't know. And then like they could get into a handheld or mobile market too. I mean, obviously Angry Birds is going to be a huge thing, but like they're pretty big in the mobile space too. Like you could have a a mobile Persona game where like you play the mobile game, you could unlock stuff in the in Persona 17 or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm obsessed with this notion that Sega needs to make a new console and compete with these IP, and I want to know what it looks like. Again, R&D on a new console costs millions, if not billions of dollars, right? You got to ship it, you got to sell it to people, you got to launch it with the right set of games, you got to send your message. When do you do it? Do you do it in like a mid-cycle or wait till the next generation? Like, there's a lot to consider there, but I think if anybody could jump into the console market right now with the IP that they own, it would be Sega.
And one more question. Do you think Sega would do better with like a handheld or a hybrid, like a Switch? And I'm only saying like a Switch, or would it be more of a high-powered workhorse type Xbox spaceship PlayStation 5?
I think what you would have to do is highly consider what audience you'd want to cater to the most, right? And I think Sonic caters to a huge audience, but also I think you could probably get away with what Microsoft is doing with the cloud stuff as well, and say, hey, bring back Sega TV, right? Like they could totally do that and say, hey, if you subscribe to Sega TV, which is like in the 90s was like Game Pass before Game Pass, right? And like you could say subscribe to Sega TV and for this amount of money a month, and you get this catalog of games and our cloud gaming service. Ooh. And powered by Azure, which also powers Game Pass, and you'd be like, oh well, that's super cool, let's try that, right?
Yeah.
So I actually was thinking of that, right? That same thing. Like I think if they're going to get into the console again, right? I don't know if it would be like the traditional put cartridge or disc into or something into the system. I would see it more of like a streaming box and tap into an infrastructure that's already built like Azure, and then that's whole subscription service. Like how cool would that be if it was just like, hey, you know what, $10 a month, I would pay $15 a month to play Dreamcast games, Sega Saturn games, Genesis games. Like that would be like I could be on board with that for sure. And then like let's develop new games, but it'll still be on the platform, right? And it'll be new IP games, and those games like maybe you buy those instead of just the streaming service.
It'd be like what Nintendo's doing with their NSO stuff, essentially. You get our old games, or like, I mean, Sonic Frontiers could be on the service in like 3 years, right? Or something. Like when the next Sonic game is about to launch, maybe you use the previous game as a marketing tool, right? Yeah. Which is, kind of what Microsoft was doing until they ran out of games to put out. But I think, I mean, you could get everybody in here, right? Because they own like Sega bass fishing, right? You could get your dad in there to be like, I want to go fishing. Buy our fake fishing rod, and you get 1 month of Sega TV free. I don't know. Man, I'm still looking at their roster of games that they own. Streets of Rage, right? Streets of Rage 4 was awesome. Space Harrier, Space Channel 5. Puyo Puyo is actually would be an awesome handheld experience, right? Like Devil Summoner. I think Devil Summoner and something Devil Summoner just came out. Man, Cyber Trooper. Oh my gosh, remember Cyber Troopers? Oh my gosh, that game was not great. But I mean, again, like Condemned. I totally forgot about Condemned, right? Like if you wanted to do like a comedy horror thing, like Dead Island, almost. Like I don't. There's so much here. So, anyways, that was my big Sega wish list of not happening, but.
It'd be cool. It'd be fun. I mean, and it would be cool to see them go into the handheld as well. Like, right. And it could be streaming. Like, I think that's hard because like, that's one of my biggest complaints with the Switch is like, hey, you can play like these big games, but they're streaming like, like Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the whole point is that I don't have to be at a place where I have internet to play this game. Like ones if I don't have internet.
Yeah. And maybe they do make like a what's that Steam Deck competitor that's coming out, LeRon? What's it called? The
Asus ROG Ally.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like maybe you do something like that where like you can plug it into a dock and to your TV and hook up a Bluetooth controller to it, and then you can take it with you. I mean Sega has the IP that like they have very few IP that require the technical fidelity of like a Series X or a PS5, right? Like I would say Yakuza and Judgment would be those games, right? But like those games are on PS4. So like I think if you made something that's just as powerful as like an Xbox One X or a PS4 Pro, put that SSD in there instead of a just a standard hard drive, like I bet people would buy a $500 $600 handheld to play like these types of games plus third-party games on the go, right? The problem is there's like you run into the people are like, well, I already have a Steam Deck and a Switch, why would I need this? But what about the people that don't have a Steam Deck? What about Sega hardcore fanboys? What if you kind of market it as like this hybrid console the way the Switch did, right? Like when Switch came out, people thought handheld gaming was dead, right? And I mean, it's probably gonna end up being the first or second best-selling console ever.
Yeah.
So.
And in fact, we're hearing rumors that PlayStation's like, should we bring out another handheld because of how well
Sony better get in the program. Get with the program.
And Microsoft's going to be at that Asus reveal too.
Yeah.
Because the rumor is they're going to run Windows natively and they're going to be able to run Game Pass natively on that thing.
Oh.
And you could run anything from the Microsoft or Steam stores on there too.
Steam Deck.
Which is why I'm glad I didn't buy a Steam Deck yet.
Because that's the same thing I was thinking. Because man, like I was running to buy a Steam Deck over my birthday.
Yeah. So I think that's I'm waiting for that because I want if I could play Destiny on that thing natively without having to do any kind of workaround thing. Bye guys. So yeah. So we've been going for an hour and a half. Do we want to end it there? Do we want to put a pin in it there? Just want to put a bow on it.
This was pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, unless we want to rapid fire real fast the most overrated, overhyped games.
Oh my gosh, everybody's gonna hate me. Yeah, let's do it. Rapid fire.
Oh, no.
Rapid fire.
Not ready.
3.
Are you not ready?
Okay, I'll go first again.
We can save it then.
No, I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna go first because I have 3.
Okay.
That everybody is gonna hate me after
All
this. I actually have like a long list.
I guarantee you, Elden Ring is on his list. I guarantee you.
It's not.
Okay.
No, I'm not that dumb.
You say you're not that dumb?
Yeah. Okay. So the first one, all you Nintendo fans can come at me. Earthbound, extremely overhyped and overrated. Okay. And I'm sure every Nintendo fan out there has played this game and is going to tell me how amazing it is. Well, guess what? When I was walking through Toys R Us in 1995 and all 8,000 of those copies of that game were sitting in the bargain bin, should have bought them all if I was smart enough, but I was also 9, so whatever. Yeah, I don't believe everybody who says Earthbound is one of the greatest Nintendo IPs has ever played it. I bet a majority of the people haven't even finished it. I tried to play it when it came to Wii U. I tried to play it on the Nintendo Switch Online stuff. I tried to play it on 3 or wherever. I think Wii did it come to Wii? No, it didn't come to Wii. What? The Super Nintendo Mini console. Try to play it there. Can't do it. I just couldn't do it. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Sorry, everybody. Okay. Sony ponies. You're all going to hate me, but it's okay. I'm prepared.
Is he going to say The Last of Us?
Okay.
Oh.
Nope. No, because I haven't played enough of The Last of Us to really say if it's overrated or not. Although I can say by the little bit I've played that the gameplay is not as good as I would have liked it to be. but I'm not going to judge that game based on playing for like an hour and a half. So I'm going to say the recent God of War games. Overrated. Good. Overrated. Not game of the year material.
I feel like
I think in terms of the IP that Sony owns that are popular right now, Horizon outplays it 1,000,000 to 1. I think the world is better. I think the characters are better. The only reason why I need to finish God of War Ragnarok is because I am already invested in Kratos' story since 2004 when the first one came out. And I'm like, I just gotta see it through, gotta see it through. But I don't think God of War Ragnarok is like fun really at all. And then let's see, last but not least, everybody.
Man, these long dramatic pauses.
I know. I think BioShock is incredibly overrated.
Oh crap, man! Oh, you better be glad Austin's not.
The whole
You better be
series?
glad Austin's not on here.
The first one, I never got past.
Austin will come for your blood.
Well, to be fair, Corey, I was the
That's
same way
fine.
too. I created this list of games that apparently are must play in your lifetime, and I started BioShock and I couldn't finish it. So
Yeah, I've started it 3 separate times. I played it when it came out. I actually got the Big Daddy kind of special edition because everybody thought that game was going to be amazing, and mine was one of the ones that didn't get broken. I don't know if you guys remember that, but the special editions of BioShock, the tips of the drill on the Big Daddy, like most of them were broken when they shipped them. And I ended up selling it to my friend for like $20 because he loves BioShock. So, yeah, I don't like the movement. I don't think the shooting is very good. And this is in an era where I didn't really care to aim down sight, so that's not like the issue or anything, right? I don't know. I just didn't really care for BioShock. I thought I just kind of was over it after a couple hours. 3-5. Well, I got like halfway through BioShock and I was like, I'm done. I don't care. I just don't care. But those are my 3.
Okay. I've come up with 2. To be fair, because one I've played, one I have not played. But even if I played it, I think my decision would still be the same. The first, I'll go with the Nintendo IP first, and this is saying it as a fan, like
spicy.
Huh?
I said spicy.
It's Pokemon, and this is saying it as I have Pokemon Scarlet. My son is Pokemon Violet. I collect Pokemon cards. So don't get me wrong. I like Pokemon generally. Okay? But I think that after all this time where Pokemon are named after garbage, ice cream, like a set of keys, like I'm sorry. It's just that like the intensity when I'm like in these Facebook groups for this 9th generation, I don't know if maybe I outgrew it, but I'm like, guys, it's okay. Like, and it's not even because the game came out all glitchy. Like, I also did not really care so much. I still had fun. But like, there's enjoying the game, and then like everybody else were like, holy shit. Corey, you kind of referenced that was the game that came out where like it just propelled significantly more sales for the Switch. Like the hype was so intense. Holy crap. So it's the intensity that I'm calling out more than anything. Like, hey, it makes the money, and I do own their stuff, so I'm not fully shitting on it. It's just the hype. We could pump the brakes a little bit. It's not that great. Again, I just can't get over the Pokemon that looks like a fucking vanilla ice cream cone. Like, you're out of ideas, guys. Please stop.
That's funny.
So that's one. Although I personally,
What about the one that's a garbage
Garbodor.
bag?
Yeah, he's literally a bag of trash. Garbodor. I'm like, what? Are you serious? And like, I'm too tired to like.
Got to catch them all, though. You have to catch them
guess.
all. Yeah.
There's just
all the garbage,
even the garbage ones. Yeah.
One man's garbage is another man's treasure. Pokemon.
Or Pokemon.
Exactly. The other one is Fortnite. This is the one that Yeah.
Mm.
So there's the two like super popular games, and it's Fortnite and Minecraft. Minecraft, I can at least say people can really do a lot in that game and helps with creativity. So like I I'm turned off by anything that's a fad or super super popular, but at least I get Minecraft. I can actually see the creativity and whatever. With Fortnite, I just don't understand why everybody loves it so damn much. I don't honestly see what's so special about it. I'm not saying it's a bad game. The amount of skins that are available are pretty cool, right? Like I get it.
Star Wars one's in the store right
Exactly.
now.
So again,
Mhm.
I'm trying to be fair, but at the same time, I just don't understand why everyone's all about like, oh, Fortnite. Like, dude, put the controller down, expand your horizons, and play other games. I just feel like there are certain people that will only play like a Fortnite or they'll only play a Minecraft. Like those
Mm.
mainstream games, they're just so obsessed with it.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend Fortnite, but I will say this: I'm not a Fortnite like person. I have played Fortnite, but I will say like some of the appeal is like when you were a kid. At least when I was a kid, I didn't like. I would have sets of like a couple GI Joe guys and a couple Star Wars characters and a couple whatever, and they would have like big
Mm.
wars against each other, and just mix all your toys together. Right? That's kind of Fortnite. You're just mixing all your toys together and you're playing, right? And I think the other thing I will say, because Fortnite is such an interesting game because that was not the game that they intended on launch. It was
Mhm.
actually supposed to be that tower defense game where zombies would come and then you would with you and your pals build forts to fight against these hordes of zombies coming in. And then they added this whole we'll add this other version where you can play against your friends, and they scrapped the whole like building and horde zombie thing for
It's
the
still
online
in
thing.
there. If you there's still that mode is still in there. They just stopped updating it
Mm.
like
Yeah.
3 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. It's like minor now, right? Like that was supposed to be the
Mhm.
major thing. But what I think is appealing to those types of games is it's an interesting because it's a narrative, but not like the narrative what we would think. The narrative is more of you and your buddies getting together playing, and you talk about like, remember that one time when we were down and we were like third place and there was like 5 people we were going against yet, and it was just the 2 of us and we took them all out. That was so amazing. That's
Mhm.
the narrative of those types of games. It's more about like the epic moments that you have with your friends and those like high risk moments that you had with your friends, and you're able to pull off a win, or like in my case, remember when we had one person, it was 3 of us versus 1, and I missed every shot, you guys got killed, and I was shooting the guy, I'm like, I got this, guys, I got this, and then I died. Like that is my narrative for that
Oh,
game.
thanks for sharing that.
But that being said, I 100%
No,
agree with
totally
you.
cool.
I'm not
That just
disagreeing.
honestly further highlights the fact that I don't have friends because I don't play multiplayer stuff.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you're welcome to play Fortnite with us whenever we play, so
Thank you.
Yeah, it's Fortnite was it's something I play with my nephews because they're super into it, and they added that no build mode, which actually made it
yeah.
a lot more digestible for me to
Yeah,
just
me
go in.
too.
I'm like, I can just go in and find weapons and shoot people. I don't have to worry about somebody building a city block in 5 seconds while I'm reloading my weapon, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. LeRon, what are your overrated games?
I have 2 RPGs and I have 1 action title on here, and like they are very famous games. Very famous games.
Famous games.
Famous, yeah. So
What?
where do I start? Do y'all want an RPG first, or do y'all want the action title first?
Give me the action
Same.
title. I want to know.
Devil May Cry 4. Devil May Cry 4.
Oh,
Like, I mean,
I thought that was the one that everybody didn't
no, that
like.
was Devil May Cry 2.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've only played the one reboot by Ninja
I've
Theory,
played
so
every
I
I've
don't know
played
anything about
every
it.
Devil May Cry game, and honestly, Devil May Cry 4, Devil May Cry 4 introduced Nero, and all that stuff, but at the same time, like like in the introduction to Nero, they basically like threw away Dante, in that regard and stuff like that, like like Devil May Cry always has ups and downs, but 4 was just. I say this a lot. I say this a lot when I describe Devil May Cry 4, so I'll say it on this podcast. Devil May Cry 4, you spent half the game playing as not Dante to wind up playing with Dante and just play the game in reverse like that. I'm sorry, that's a big jerk. That's a big hand job for me that doesn't have no payoff, in my opinion. Combat was pretty decent, even though there was that stylish factor I didn't feel was there. Like stylish combat is kind of what made the Devil May Cry series what it is, and it seems like every even numbered Devil May Cry kind of stumbles, because Devil May Cry 1 was phenomenal. Devil May Cry 2 could die in a fire. Devil May Cry 3 brought it back in style. Devil May Cry 4, like what the fuck were you thinking? Devil May Cry 5, excellent game. And stuff like that. So,
what about the reboot?
Oh, I love DMC Devil May Cry. I love it. And you know what, Internet, come for me if you want to. Hit the show notes. You'll find where to find me on social media and all that stuff. Let's talk if you guys feel bad, if some type of way about DMC Devil May Cry, because that game was hot.
That game's awesome. I got every single achievement. Here's the thing: I was playing it on my PS3. And I almost was my first platinum trophy. And then I started playing Final Fantasy 13 alongside it, and it bricked my console. Oh. So I turned around and bought it on Xbox 360 and got every achievement and almost got all the achievements in the DLC as well.
Bricked your console?
Wow.
Yeah. Which was sad because I really liked Final Fantasy 13, and
that's another overrated game in my opinion.
Is that the RPG
overrated?
One? No, it's not the no. But guess what?
Nobody likes Final Fantasy 13. But
guess what? One of my RPGs is a Final Fantasy title, and it's not 7.
Which one is it?
It's not 7.
Oh, 7.
You better not say 6.
It's not.
10,
oh God, I love
10,
6.
10,
I love 6.
10.
10 is great. 10 is great. It's Final Fantasy 8.
Okay.
Okay.
I love Final Fantasy 8, but that was also one of my first ones.
Final Fantasy 8, it had the makings of this great RPG opera, in my opinion. It really did. And, it's not just because that opening theme, the game's opener had that operatic song to it. What really upset me about Final Fantasy 8 is the fact that, we have this world-ending event coming, but your main character is worried about this girl that he saw at this dance.
Priorities.
I mean, that's what I was worried about when I was in school.
The head mistress is crazy and is going to crack the world apart. But I have to find this girl that danced with me for half a moment, at the graduation ceremony and all this stuff. And and speaking of that girl, she's I'm not sure who's more useless in the Final Fantasy series. Is it Rinoa or is it Yuna? I don't know.
Whoa, Yuna's the best black mage in Final Fantasy X.
Yes, I learned that after I beat Final Fantasy X. I was like, why didn't y'all tell me this while I was playing Final Fantasy X? Because I really thought this chick was not worth a damn. Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, there was a lot of good things. I love playing the card game. I wasted a lot of time in Final Fantasy VIII playing that card game. That's for real. And you know what? I hope they never remake this game. I hope they never do it. Just
well, the next one after 7 is supposedly 9. So
I don't know how I feel about that either. I didn't enjoy 9 either, but I didn't think 9 was overrated, which is crazy because 9 people love 9 more than they love 8.
9 is awesome. I love 9. 9 was my first one though, because so it was funny. I ended up buying Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. Final Fantasy 10 was coming out, and I had just gotten a PS2, and I was really excited. And I never played a Final Fantasy game before, so I went out and bought 7, 8, and 9 right before 10 came out, and I didn't realize how long those games were. So I played 9, and then I played 10, and then I went back to 8, and then I played I don't know, a few hours of 7. I'm like, I don't want to play this.
All right. And this is not even this is not my number 1 pick. I just called them out and just the way I felt like dealing with them. It's Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It is. I'm
kind of with you.
It is. It did some groundbreaking things, and Stephanie has logged off for the night. I'm sorry, Steph. I love you. But I don't know. And, part of it's me. Honestly, part of it's me. I was not ready for Zelda to make that move to that type of style of game. I wasn't, and I still am not. And what are we, like 25 years later now? Like, I still don't.
Something
I
like
still
that.
don't like. I still don't like it. I still don't like that style of Zelda. But what honestly, like, what kind of got under my skin is the game was kind of annoying. The game was annoying. Like Link had a voice, you had this little sprite that was yelling at you like every 5 minutes and stuff like that.
Navi is annoying.
The movement mechanics, I wasn't quite used to the Nintendo 64 analog stick too, so the movement mechanics are kind of clunky, and stuff like that. But what really took the cake was either when Link died or he fell down a cliff. Oh my god. I was not ready for all that noise. I was not. And the one thing I did like about Ocarina of Time, even though I never beat it, I watched a Let's Play of it, is when he took out Ganon. I was not ready for that, but it also made me realize, hey, Legend of Zelda's always been a violent game. It was just all cutified with sprites and everything, so we didn't realize what was going on. Very first game, he shot Ganon through the heart with a silver arrow, and the guy exploded, and a pile of ashes was left with the Triforce sticking out of it. Like, damn. Fast forward to Wind Waker, like he basically does the downward thrust from Zelda 2 right into Ganon's skull, right through the circlet. Like, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, those are Final Fantasy VIII, Ocarina of Time, and Devil May Cry 4.
Wow.
What about you, Roger?
Well, first of all, I'll say Final Fantasy, the first game, because it's not the Final Fantasy. It keeps going. No, that was a joke.
What?
I love it.
I may have misunderstood the assignment here, because like my games that I picked, I think they're like I think they're overrated, or overhyped. I guess that's what I was thinking.
I mean, you can pick that
overhyped
too.
or overrated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one I'll say is No Man's Sky. Because when it was released, right, it was super overhyped. I mean, like they were saying like how awesome this is going to be. You're going to go to all these different planets and you're going to run into all these different people and you're going to be able to name your planets before the other people do. And like when they see your planet, they'll be like, oh, that's their planet. And like none of that was true. Now it is right now, but at the launch, it was not true. And I was super excited about that game. Like that was on my list of like games I need to get.
This kind of goes back to our conversation earlier about expectations versus the reality when the games are launched.
Yes. But they did set the expectations on that one.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's my first one. The second one is Mario Strikers Battle League.
Oh, wait. That's new. That's the new one, right?
That's the new one. Yeah. So I love Mario Strikers. I loved it on the Wii. It's so much fun. And then when they said they're going to come out with it on the Switch and there's going to be leagues, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so amazing. And then I played it and this game is not very much fun. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's, I'll play with my son because he enjoys it, but playing online, not fun at all.
You were that guy when they announced Mario Strikers for the Switch. You're like, we made it, boys. We did it.
Yep. I was like jumping for joy.
Me too.
I'm like, oh my gosh,
too.
I can't believe it. I did the same thing with the golf game though, like that Hyper Rush or whatever.
I was not impressed.
Yeah,
I was not impressed.
No, me either. But I was super excited when they announced it. It wasn't good.
Yeah, I agree with you with the Mario sports games. They're just like
they used to be good though. That's the thing.
They were. Toadstool Tour on GameCube is amazing.
Yeah,
it's got mini golf.
We should definitely revisit this topic to talk about Nintendo bias, because I think Nintendo bias is real.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree, and I've fallen victim to that in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
too,
you're in your Disney bias too, bro.
I just ripped Disney Speedstorm in half.
One game.
20 minutes.
One game. I'm done. I'm messing with you, dude.
I will not confirm nor deny that I am a homer for the mouse. Okay.
Roger, please go with your next game.
Well, my number one game is a game that I bought into the hype, and I was talking about this a lot on the podcast, and then it launched, and I was like, nope. Anthem. I was super excited about Anthem. My favorite story of Anthem is that like they dropped it like a hot potato, and there were people that were playing it in June, and they're like, there's still Christmas stuff up because they never took the stuff out of the game. Like they never updated it. And I thought that was hilarious. That's like, think about that in real life. Like, oh, this neighbor still has their Christmas lights up in June. Like, I love it. I love that. But yeah, like I was like, wow, you can play as Iron Man. This sounds so cool. And this could be amazing. And then like, it was dead on arrival. It was awful. Yeah. So
did you, have a 10 episode run of an Anthem podcast, including 8 episodes that came out before the game did?
I did not.
Oh, well, good for you.
Somebody else?
Yeah, Corey can take
this panel may or may not have done that to try to get ahead of the.
Corey can take that walk of shame.
Did you record those thinking we're going to launch these right after the game comes out and people will be like, oh my gosh, this is so great.
Them. We launched them.
Did? Oh,
yeah. No, you just got to let it go. You just got to let it rip.
Oh, no.
My friend bought the Anthem comics that had come out, and like we were talking about the lore of like and all the stuff, right? Like we were preparing to be the Anthem podcast. And
hey, well, look at this way.
I love it.
Look at this way. The Anthem podcast walked so Tower Casuals could run.
So here's the thing is like the name was cool. It's the coolest name for a podcast and the coolest theme song we've ever had. And just didn't take off. Javelins for Hire was the podcast.
Oh.
It had this really cool pink and black color scheme. We were going for it. And
I think you should bring it back. Bring it back.
Yeah, we'll bring it back for one last episode when they finally shut down the Anthem servers. Oh man, good times. Good times. Was that it? Was that
was
it?
That was my third one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna wrap it there. Roger, thank you for coming on the show tonight. This was super fun.
Yeah.
You have to come back for sure.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. You guys are a lot of fun.
You're a lot of fun. Where can people go to find your podcasts? Plug it one more time before we get out of here.
Yeah. So you can go to my website. You can go to Gamerheads website. It's not just my website. It's gamerheadspodcast.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at GamerheadsPod. And you can follow me on Twitter at NintendoRaj. Yes, I know my handle is like Nintendo related. I love Nintendo, but I can be critical of them as well. But yeah, that's how you can find us. And then, yes.
Don't invite this guy back to the show. I'm just messing with you.
Yikes.
Yeah, wow. Thanks for having me on. I feel real welcome. Thanks. Could wait until after we hit end. Like, wow, thanks. But yeah, you can find me anywhere. Like anywhere you get your podcasts, you can find Gamerheads as well.
Cool. Well, it was awesome. Yeah, like I said, we'll definitely have to have you back at some point, and maybe you should join us on like a book club down the road or something else that we're doing,
or on an alternative podcast show.
Yeah. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. You can follow us on Twitter at Boss Rush Network, at Boss Rush Podcast. Check out bossrush.net for all of our content, and we will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.
The Boss Rush Podcast is a product of Boss Rush Media, LLC, and is recorded from our headquarters in Akron, Ohio. This show is produced, written, and directed by me, Corey Dirrig. My co-hosts are Stephanie Klimov, LeRon Dawkins, and Edward Varnell. You can find Stephanie at Klimov_author on Twitter and Instagram, as well as on the EXPcast. You can find LeRon at Exodus803 on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. and also on Crossroads, the video game podcast. You can find Edward at ThatRetroCode on Twitter and Instagram, as well as hosting Nintendo Power Block. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at IamCorianHD, and find me hosting Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast, and co-hosting Nintendo Power Block. Find the Boss Rush Podcast on all social media platforms at Boss Rush Podcast. You can also follow Boss Rush Media and Boss Rush Network on all major social media platforms. Join the Boss Rush Network Discord and Facebook groups to interact with other friends and fans. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.